Okay, hi, welcome to what is my first review of any kind of golfing equipment. Today we're going to just be quickly having a chat about the AOFAR GX-S2 rangefinder. I bought mine from Amazon. It was slightly on offer at the time, so this was £80, which compared to a lot of the rangefinders out there is incredibly reasonable, where you can obviously spend £300–400 on the more premium Bushnell ones, for example, and although I do have some experience with those ones where some of the golfers that I do play with have used them, this is my honest review of one that was only £80. To put things into context, I'm a 16 handicapper, and I took this out on the course yesterday. I've only had this literally for 3 days. I can tell you I was super impressed with it. I thought it worked incredibly well. I usually use a shot scope GPS watch, but my course is currently on temporary greens, so this was one of the things that kind of pushed me to buy a rangefinder. Spent a good couple of weeks looking at different rangefinders and everything else, and obviously although this had a lot of reviews, particularly on Amazon, it's still a bit of a punt, isn't it, when you're trying to think about new bits of tech or anything else that you want to buy. So I'm going to start off with, we'll have a chat about sort of the packaging and the boxing, everything else that it comes in. The box itself looks good quality. Everything's super clear. There's also good information on the actual side of the box about all the specs and everything else that it comes with. It's just a box within a sleeve. I really like the colouring, the really bright orange. I don't know why I like it. I do. It is something that I thought was quite nice. Actually, within the box itself, you do get a handy information booklet. It's pretty straightforward, and the device itself is actually pretty easy to use as well. Anyway, there is a cleaning cloth, should you be that way inclined and want to use that. And the actual device itself comes within a nice handy carry bag as well that can clip onto your bag or your golf bag itself as well. So unlike some of the other rangefinders in this price point, the packaging itself, the actual bag itself, seems super sturdy. It does remind me more or slightly more of those more premium rangefinders, in terms of the fact it's got the little bungee on it so that you don't have to keep unzipping and unzipping the whole thing every single time. I found that incredibly useful yesterday when I was using it, because it is just so simple, just to simply flip it over, and then all you've got to do is it pops straight back open again, and you can get the rangefinder straight out instead of having to zip and unzip it the whole time. There's a carabiner that comes with it as well that you can put through the loop. There is also like a belt loop here as well, which I know some people do sometimes to actually wear it themselves, or you can actually attach it to your bag or your cart that way as well. The actual boxing or carry case itself, I don't know whether it is waterproof. I don't think it is. It's certainly water resistant. There was a bit of a shower yesterday while I was out playing, and it didn't seem to soak it up, and it wasn't wet on the inside. It seems pretty sturdy. I feel like it's going to last a while, and as I said, it's very much in the same kind of style as the more premium rangefinders that you find, in terms of the packaging and actually how it works. So I was super impressed with that part of it for sure. The actual rangefinder itself, a good few features I found. It is the actual focusing, where a lot of them is actually a bit more like binocular focusing, for those of you that have any or have used any, where you have to move the whole lens to actually focus it. Well, with this one you don't. You've actually got a focusing wheel, and I found that incredibly easy to use. It was super quick, it was super responsive, and I actually thought just a really nice feature that you didn't have to actually move the device away from your eye at all, and ergonomically it worked really well, just in terms of being right there for you to be able to focus it while you're actually looking as well. Something else to add on, it does have this extra loop holder as well that you can obviously put onto the device should you wish to choose to use it. I'm actually, if I'm honest, probably going to take this off. I found that actually it got a little bit in the way while I was trying to get it in and out of the bag, but it was such a really minor bugbear there, really. I'm just being picky if I'm being perfectly honest. Ergonomically, again, weight-wise, and just how it feels in the hand, there's good rubber grips at the top and at the bottom. Certainly feel nice and secure. It's a nice size in the hand, and it's all the buttons. Although the buttons are quite small in comparison to some of the other devices I've seen, I didn't have a problem with it. I found a problem with it at all. In terms of battery, well, the battery just goes in the side here. It does come with a battery as well, which is brilliant. As you can just unscrew it, the battery just goes straight into the side like so. The only thing that I did notice, and I have seen that's mentioned on a couple of reviews, is that there isn't any sort of like rubber seals or anything around here. So I do question as to how secure that will be if you're playing in heavy rain. But I'm not overly concerned about it. It was, again, just another small thing that kind of popped into my brain, and something else that had been mentioned on some other reviews as well. I really like the look of it. This comes in white as well. To be honest with you, I didn't get the white one just because the black one was on offer, and it was £10 more expensive to get the white one, and I was like, well, I don't really care. So I got the black one. I think for me as well, the white one might well have a tendency just to get a bit dirty, look at it dirty a bit faster. Whereas actually, I like the style for here. It does have slope mode, which obviously you can't use in competition. But I wasn't playing in a competition yesterday, so I played around with the slope mode and everything else. The slope mode was incredibly quick. I was really impressed with how quick that was, and I found it pretty accurate. And I'll be honest with you, I found the actual device worked incredibly well. I think there was probably only maybe 3 or 4 times where I was struggling to get an actual decent yardage, but actually even in those 3 or 4 times, I actually only had to sort of click it maybe a third or 4th time to then actually still get a fairly decent result. And in all of those cases, it was because I'd stuck myself in the trees, as a 16 handicapper and above will know full well about. And if you're on the fairway, if you're just on the rough, and actually, to be fair, if you're shooting actually between, if you've got a decent gap between the trees, it still worked really well. I did find that it did struggle a little bit if you were really in the deep stuff, getting arboreal and really in amongst the trees. But I don't feel like that's necessarily an issue with this, as much as it is obviously an issue with my golf swing and then anything else. Generally speaking, the flag lock worked pretty well as well. Certainly within anything less than 180 yards, the flag lock I found was actually really quite responsive. Yes, it is not as fast as the more premium brands, those 350, 300, 350 pound rangefinders. No, it's not as quick, but I'm talking a second. It's not instant. There is a delay. There is about a second, but the flag lock worked really well. As I said, anything from about 180 yards less, it seemed to work really well. It did get a little bit more tricky when you got over 200 yards. It did still lock, but it took maybe 2, 3, sometimes 4 attempts to actually get the flag lock to work. That being said, it was still giving you fairly decent yardage results without the flag lock. So even when the flag lock had come in, yes, it was obviously a more accurate ping from it and giving me a more accurate yardage, but I found that it was only about maybe 2 or 3 yards away from where it was before having the flag lock anyway. And as a 16 handicapper, if I'm getting within 2 or 3 yards, then I'm pretty happy anyway. Okay. So look, I mean, overall for £80, I was super impressed with how well this worked. It was very quick for the needs that I had. I actually found it, as I said, because we're on temporary greens at my current course, my GPS watch was basically redundant, and this gives you a really good idea even without using the flag lock. But the flag lock itself, as I said, is still pretty responsive. Just pinging straight away yardages was very quick. It's just a simple click of the little power button and it will give you an instant click yardage. Hold it down to try and get that flag lock. And the slope mode, you do simply turn on and off by simply holding down the mode button for 2 or 3 seconds. and again, it will just turn instantly on or off. So overall, I'm super impressed. I do not regret my purchase whatsoever. And for the other reviews I've seen of some other ones, and this is the only one that I have actually purchased and used. I can understand why people are quite so positive about it. The only negative I think I would say about it is that it can be just a little bit sluggish on that flag lock when you're over 170 or over 180 yards away. But that is really me being quite picky, because as I said, the delay is not a lot. I was playing with 3 other people, none of which had a rangefinder, and all were finding the same issues that I had, that their GPSs were essentially null and void because of our temporary greens. All 4 of us used it, and all 4 of us were impressed of how quick and how easy it was to use. So so that's essentially my review for the AOFAR GX-S2. As I said, I got mine from Amazon, but there's lots of different places you can do. I'd obviously have a look around and see if there's any deals or anything on it in particular. But for £80, I do not regret it at all. That's it. That's been our review of the AOFAR GX-S2.